Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO. It is time to start talking a little bit about statewide news, and to get us caught up with everything going on in the world of Texas politics, our good friend Scott Braddock, editor Quorum Report, joining us this morning. Scott, good morning.
Good morning, Chad. How are you?
Doing great. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Talking to you this morning from Houston, Texas, so we can start with the news from Houston over the weekend, if you like.
Well, there was news from Houston?
Absolutely. So we're here where the largest megachurch in the United States is located, Lakewood Church, with about 43,000 people who attend services each week. 13 million people tune in on television each week, and that's just in the U.S., millions more around the world. And there were some very interesting people in attendance here this weekend. Kim Kardashian West, sitting next to, of all people, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. And you may have seen that the lieutenant governor sent out an email yesterday in which he was touting the fact that he had spent some time with Kim Kardashian West, I think with Kanye West also, talking about criminal justice reform and those sorts of things that are interesting to that couple. And of course, Kanye West here talking about the fact that, and I think this is a direct quote, he was talking on stage with Joel Osteen, who runs this church here, about the fact that he, Kanye West, is the greatest artist that God has ever created.
Wow. And
now he's working for him, for God.
Wow.
And have you seen this where online, interesting, the governor, Governor Abbott, was also tweeting about the fact that Kanye was performing for some inmates and trying to bring them to Jesus, and the governor saying that that's a great thing. Dan Patrick in attendance at Lakewood Church, sort of rooting Kanye on.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talk, Chad, you probably saw online, people on Twitter and people on Facebook, either hating on Kanye. And by the way, it's hard for me to bring myself to care about Kanye West. It's not something that I get all worked up about. I do have some friends who are some very conservative Republicans who are upset about this idea that, President Trump sort of has a bromance with Kanye West. You remember them at the White House, and Kanye wearing the Make America Great Again hat. And now you have Dan Patrick, there visiting with Kanye and his wife, Kim Kardashian, and some Republicans pointing to the fact, you remember, after Hurricane Katrina, there was the Red Cross Drive on television, fundraiser, where I think it was the comedian Mike Myers standing next to Kanye West when West famously said, George Bush doesn't care about black people. We've come a long way from Republicans really hating him over that comment to now sort of rallying around him because now he's found Jesus and he's got this gospel album that he's promoting and all of this. Yeah. And whether he's bringing people to Jesus, of course, I have no idea. Kanye West and his folks like to claim that they brought a lot of people to Christ. And, I'm a Christian, you're a Christian, that would be a good thing. But I do think what's interesting about this from a political standpoint is that Republicans in Texas really need issues and events that they can sort of peg off of to show that they have appeal with a broader audience than just the base of the Republican Party. I mean, if you think about where this is sort of emblematic, where does Dan Patrick usually go to church? He usually goes to church at Second Baptist here in Houston, which is a Southern Baptist church, very conservative, evangelical, and all of that. And you've seen that reflected in his politics, of course, and I don't think anybody would question his faith. But to see him over at Lakewood Church, it's a very different kind of church. Lakewood Church, if you look up what their denomination is, Chad, the Lakewood denomination is charismatic. It's non-denominational, charismatic.
Right.
That's the way that it's characterized. And so here you have a church where there are so many people who are coming in that probably don't look like the audience at the Second Baptist Church, the Southern Baptist Church. Lakewood is very diverse. It looks more like Houston is what the people here would say.
Yeah.
And so to have Dan Patrick here and to have him, alongside, and of course there's the nexus with President Trump, liking Kanye and all that. But I think it goes deeper than that. And I think Republicans do in this state want to be able to show that they're not only catering to the base of the Republican Party, but they do also have the ability to play in this sort of arena of celebrity politics, because that's really what's going on here. I mean, President Trump, same thing, comes into the White House as a celebrity. He likes other celebrities like Kim Kardashian. We talked about this on the show last week, the fact that Kim Kardashian, has some sway with President Trump. She was there when the big criminal justice reform bill was passed and signed by the president at the White House. She was there in the Oval Office with him, influential with him on that front. And Kim Kardashian also, by the way, was here in Texas over the weekend on Friday with Rodney Reed, who was, got a reprieve from the Court of Criminal Appeals on Friday. So a lot going on here in this area.
Yeah, definitely.
And interesting that Kanye West and his wife right in the middle of all this news.
Yeah. Well, it is certainly interesting. I will say, have you heard the album that Kanye put out?
I have not heard the album.
It's actually pretty
are y'all
good.
playing it on the?
It's actually, Scott, you got to check it out. It's actually pretty good. And,
well,
and
he's a great artist.
Listen, I had my reservations. I went, no, this can't. And I listened to it. I went, okay, it's actually pretty good. I had to admit it was actually pretty good. And listen, for Kanye, if everything's legit and he's actually bringing people to try, I say good for him. And but yeah, there's always when politics intersects with it, it is certainly interesting.
People will ask the question, is he doing it as a publicity stunt? Is he doing it, just for attention and just to sell albums? And that's always possible.
But it's good music. Yeah. It's good.
If it's good music, it's good music. People should listen to it if it's good.
Yeah.
I've no question. Kanye West is a great entertainer.
Yeah.
It's just and now we see him in a different phase of his career.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. There was something else that was interesting last week. Mm-hmm. Cocaine, Scott.
Yeah.
Cocaine in an envelope. And I've always said this. If you're going to travel with cocaine, don't put it in your work envelope with your own letterhead. Because that can come back and bite you. I've always said that. I've always said that. That's the advice I've given out. And it did come back to bite Chairman Poncho Nevarez, who is he had announced it, and it all made sense once because it was last week he ended his relationship with Facebook. He defriended Facebook.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago.
That was weird, and I think everyone agreed that was kind of weird. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but when he announced that he wasn't running for re-election, it kind of surprised people because he's pretty well liked. In his area of the state, correct?
Yes, he's well liked in his area of the state. He's also well liked in the Texas House. You might remember a few sessions ago, there were some gun rights activists who would not leave his office and were being sort of very intimidating to his staff. That's the reason that there are panic buttons in all of the lawmakers' offices at the Capitol in Austin if they want them. And it was also a Republican, Drew Springer from Munster, Texas, who made some buttons or pins that said, "I am Poncho," that I think almost all of the, if not all of the members of the Texas House, Republicans and Democrats, all wore those pins in sort of a show of solidarity. And not only is he popular at home and in the House, but he's also ascended to an important chairmanship of the Homeland Security Committee. So when he said he was retiring, that was surprising to people.
Yeah.
I wondered if there was more to it, and of course, reporters had reached out to him to ask why he was leaving. His statement simply said that he needed to sort of get better. That's not a direct quote. That was pretty close to that, though. But it did become apparent that he was going to be seeking some help for addiction it turns out, to cocaine. And over the course of the last week, we learned that 2 months ago, this didn't just happen, it happened 2 months ago at a private airstrip in Austin, which lawmakers are allowed to use, by the way. It's an airstrip that's run by DPS and the Texas Department of Transportation. You and I can't use it, even if we had a private plane. There's a private airstrip sort of next to that you could use if you had a private jet. But this was all caught on video, an envelope with, and by the way, to your pearls of wisdom, Chad, you can add this in your government envelope.
Yes.
It was the envelope with his letterhead of his Texas House office.
Yeah, not good.
Contained baggies of cocaine. Not good. There was a search warrant issued by the Texas Department of Public Safety, and they were searching to figure out, if this was what they thought it was. It turned out that it is, and he admitted to it. He said, "Yeah, it's mine. The news is true. This is why I'm leaving office." And in the meantime, something that developed over the weekend, Chad, is that Speaker Bonin told 3 Republican chairmen that he is not able to remove Nevarez as chairman of the Public Safety Committee. Three GOP chairmen, Phil King from Weatherford, Jeff Leach from Collin County, and James White from Southeast Texas, had asked Bonin if he would go ahead and strip Nevarez of his chairmanship. It was pointed out to me over the weekend that even though it's not sort of top secret stuff like they would get in Washington, if you're the Homeland Security Committee chairman, you are still briefed on information that probably somebody who is accused of and is basically admitted to a felony offense of possession of cocaine, they should probably not be getting that information.
Right.
And so Bonin wrote back to these chairmen and said that he doesn't have the ability to do that. But Phil King, in an interview with Quorum Report over the weekend, and we're going to be posting this interview a little bit later today at quorumreport.com, he outlined why, in his estimation, that is not true. King says that the Speaker absolutely has the ability to take that chairmanship away from Nevarez. And King said, look, it's not personal, but it's about the integrity of the House and about the fact that that person should not be getting that sort of information. And in fact, the way that Bonin wrote his letter to these chairmen at the end of last week, the House rules that Bonin is pointing to actually sort of proves the opposite of the point he was trying to make. And some are wondering now, and I've heard some chatter about this over the weekend, why is the Speaker sort of protecting or acting in a way that protects somebody who's now basically admitted to a felony of possession of cocaine to keep them in a powerful chairmanship? That doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people, although some people had asked this question. They said, well, look, if the Speaker was to ask him to resign his chairmanship or to step down from his chairmanship, then folks would ask, well, the Speaker has had his own ethical issues. Why doesn't he just go ahead and resign as well?
Yeah. Scott, if let's say you had cocaine fall out of an envelope.
Let's not say that.
Okay,
how about we don't?
But let's just say.
Okay, all right. Sake of argument, go ahead.
Let's say you're at an airport.
The mud, Chad Hasty.
Yeah, you're at an airport and cocaine falls out of your bag, and it's linked to you. Does it normally take 2 months for the news to come out?
No, I don't think so, Chad. I think that you or I would be arrested pretty quickly.
Yeah, so I'm wondering
some more questions to be asked there.
Yeah, I'm wondering, is it possible, Scott Braddock, that anyone knew about this a month ago, 2 months ago, and just stayed quiet on this up until this report that came out this past week? It's
very possible, and I think there's going to be more questions asked about why that didn't come out sooner. 2 months seems like a long time for that to have sort of simmered.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, I think you or I would have been in the county lockup, and by the way, it was enough cocaine in his possession to be considered by the state enough cocaine to show an intent to distribute the cocaine. So that is a very serious charge. I believe carries up to 10 years in prison.
Yeah. Let's see. Before we let you go, let's take a look at the Texas Senate race against Senator John Cornyn, who, I mean, he's going to get the Republican nomination. But you've got the Democrats. I think you've got, 10 Democrats, it seems like, who are trying to get the Democrat nomination, and nobody in Texas knows who these people are, Scott.
They don't. I mean, if you look at the name ID for these folks, MJ Hager was the one who made sort of the biggest splash last year in her race against a Republican congressman in the Austin area. And Hager, all these people, by the way, are in the single digits, but she's at 8.5%, in this poll among the Democrats who are running. Someone else, and not sure, are way out there as the front runners, 6.5% for someone else, and not sure enjoys double digits, but Chris Bell's at 7.4%, Royce West at 8.3%, Christina Sinzun Ramirez at 9.4%, Amanda Edwards at 8.1%. And as I went through those names, most of the folks listening to the radio probably don't have any idea what I'm talking about, but those are the Democrats who are vying to become the next Democratic nominee against John Cornyn. And there's a long way to go, of course. We're a year out from the election, and they have time to raise money and try to raise their name ID, but it is a tall order, and as we saw, and this is why you never count anything out, Chad. You never discount anything. You have Beto O'Rourke, who came out of nowhere, just like these folks are sort of out there in nowhere right now, and he set the political world on fire, but that was kind of sort of like catching lightning in a bottle. Usually doesn't happen twice.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell folks what they can catch on Quorum Report today.
Going to go through the actual reasons why the Speaker is able to remove that chairman that we were talking about. And I think when people read what the rules are about this, it's pretty straightforward, Chad. So it's puzzling why the Speaker is saying that he can't remove this person who's been accused of what he's been accused of and basically has admitted to it. And I think you're going to hear a drumbeat start from Republicans about this sooner than later. We've got it all at quorumreport.com for you. You can sign up for our free emails there. Our free email alerts let you know what's happening in real time at your Texas capital at quorumreport.com.
Scott, before I let you go, real quick, has anyone asked Nevarez to resign? Like, he could just step down, right?
In a big public way, I haven't seen that happen. That doesn't mean it didn't happen in the last few minutes while we were on the phone. but no, I have not seen that happen. And it's interesting. One of the things that Phil King, that other Republican chairman, was saying, said, if the Speaker really believes that he doesn't have the ability to remove the chairman, he could at least publicly ask him to quit.
Yeah.
No, almost no one would disagree. And in fact, Nevarez himself might not disagree because, remember, he has said that there's no one to blame for what happened except himself.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure because, Nevarez, he said he's not going to run for re-election. He could just resign his seat completely if he wanted to.
He could resign, or he could at least try to resign his chairmanships, just some sort of show of good faith with the other members. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. Scott, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chad.
That's Scott Braddock, editor, Quorum Report. We'll be right back. Chad Hasty Show, KFYO.